Welcome everyone to our November, the Women's Way. And we just decided we think it's our anniversary or close. No, I think we started in August.
We did start in August.
Okay, so we're even older than 2 years old.
No, I think, yeah, we would be older than 2 years old.
Yeah, that went fast, huh? We're not any older, just it is. We're no less mature, more mature, that is. So, okay, so today what I thought we'd do is real quick get centered, which I need more than you do probably, after getting the computer to work. So what I thought we could do is before Trina, because Trina's going to do the presentation, and so I get to do the centering. So why don't we just, for a second, just breathe together, close our eyes and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then if you do that again, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And now breathe in one more time. Bring in the energy from your feet, from the soles of your feet, from Mother Earth, up through your legs, through your torso, through all of your chakras in your body, through your neck, all the way through your head and up to the sky. Feel the beautiful love that's pulsing from both the sky and the earth, reconnecting you to your origins and reconnecting you to Mother. Feel the energy in your heart and your heart opening and expanding so that we can learn how to be of value to others by creating a remarkable conscious business. Feel that in, ground it in. Feel your heart expanding. Hopefully it's overflowing into your field. Know that this time is very important for you to be successful. This is your contribution, your sole purpose. One more time, breathe in through the nose. Breathe out. Ground that in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, so I'm turning it over to Trina now.
Yeah, and you've got my presentation there. Cool.
You want me to turn it on right this second, or do I talk first?
Well, the reason why I picked this topic of business bones and the structures for your business, because the last time that I did the presentation, which would have been 2 months ago, I talked about shattering the structures. And I'll talk a little bit, I'm going to go a little bit back to that one in this. I'm also going to go a little bit back to a presentation I did about 2 years ago, which was on the manifestation wheel.
Oh, cool.
Talk about the energies of that as well. And this piece, this business bones, is kind of taking what you're creating and actually figuring out each of the pieces that you're going to need in a basic business in order to make your business successful. And there's a lot of different models for this. That picture, I was going to change that picture because I've used it before in a presentation, but it kind of reminded me of, in a way, some of the chaos that you sometimes feel in business. And at the same time, it's quite structured. It's got a plan, it's got a layout, there's a lot of different factions, but there's a lot of busyness that goes on in it too. And like it or not, playing in the 3D as we all are, we definitely are working in and out of these structures all the time. And basically what they do for us is they help us organize so that it's not quite so scattered. And that's what's very, very important. So let's switch to the next frame. There we go. So now I'm having funny pop-ups on my screen. Huh. So this is Michael Gerber. Do you guys know who Michael Gerber is?
No.
Yes.
Okay, Michael Gerber wrote the book, The E-Myth. And what he talks about mainly in a lot of his books about the E-Myth is that we basically have most people, most businesses that are started by entrepreneurs are started by the technicians. He said there's three parts. There is the dreamer, the visionary, there's the managers, and there's the technicians. And a lot of times when the business is us, we're all three. The problem is we get stuck in that technician mode and we don't learn how to develop the other pieces, the management piece, and we especially don't focus on the visionary. And one of the things that he talks about in this E-Myth, and it's basically the entrepreneurial myth. It's a great book. If you've never read it, get it, because it's fabulous.
My favorite is the E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah,
I like that one better. If anyone knows, you can probably get it at the library even.
Yeah, he talks about a lot of this.
Great.
It's very, very good. And the one thing that's key to know that one of the concepts that I absolutely love, we used to work with him a while back too. I mean, literally produced some of his seminars. But his main point was you can hire technicians to replace you. You can hire managers and administrative staff to replace you, but you can't hire the visionary. And so as the owner of the business, you need to be the visionary. And you may bring in partners, or you may bring in some staff people to work with you, or you may work in a mastermind or something like that. But that piece, to like really anchor that in, that you are the visionary and you're the one that's creating this, is the thing that you definitely have to settle on. You can never lose that piece of it in yourself. So this is a quote from Michael. And he says, the problem with most failing businesses is not that their owners don't know enough about finance, marketing, management, operations, and these are some of the key pieces in the bones. He said, they don't, but those things are easy enough to learn, but that they spend their time and energy defending what they think they know. My experience has shown me that the people who are exceptionally good in business aren't so because of what they know, but because of their insatiable need to know more. So I'm really grateful for you guys coming on here today and being, because there's always something to learn. No matter how many years you are in business, whether you're just a newbie or whether you've been in it for 40 some, and I'm trying to think of Larry. We started our first business when we were 18. So that's going to put us on about, 44 years. And we're always learning more, always. So to open yourself up and not get caught in ego, and to really be open to all the new things, and especially nowadays around marketing and the social networks and the cultures that are out there, the way people, I think it was Peter Drucker that said, strategies will always be slaughtered by culture. So you can develop the best strategy in your mind, but if you're not in sync with the culture that's out there, you're not going to really get anywhere. So just a couple little thoughts as we move into this. So let's change this. So the way to think about the bones, when you think about the body, there's underlying structure that really holds us together. And we do have the muscles and we do have the tendons and things, but the bones are the framework of what we have. And every single business basically has the same bones in order to be successful. And you really, when you lose one of them, it really, I guess, gives you a challenge. You're not going to be as successful. So the way to think about these is that the basic structures, these are the basic structures every business needs to be successful. And they create a framework for you to manage from, to handle all of your finances, for your sales, for your operations. It's like there's all these little compartments and there's different pieces that flow in each one of them, and every one of them is important. So let's take it a little bit further then. And because we started late, we may end up running a couple minutes late, just to let you know. And I do want to honor your time. So if we do hit the 7 o'clock time and you have to go, just know that's not going to bother me. I know that we're running a little bit behind here. So some of the ideas here, some of these bones, and we're going to get into this a little bit more, are your basic business plan. So do you have a mission, a vision, goals that you want to achieve? And right now is one of the best times because January is coming up, and it's a good time to start something new in the solar year as we hit the solstice. And also the new moons are a great time to start new projects. But as we're coming up, it's kind of a traditional time for people to launch their new years. Their businesses run on a fiscal year. Most people's, a lot of companies run on a fiscal year from January through December. So it's a great time to launch new things. And this ends up being the planning time so that you have it ready to go in December. Or if you're doing any kind of marketing that needs to drop in January, you really need to know what you want to put out there by even the beginning of December. Also, if you end up working in contracts, especially with any government agencies, if you end up training or teaching there, which I do know a lot of people who teach on a more conscious level are getting contracts in businesses and in government functions and things. And governments generally run on a little bit different fiscal year. Some of them run from January to December. Some of them may run from October around to September. But those you would need to figure out if you're working on contracts, because that's where they fit you into the budget, and they're usually doing their budget planning that couple months before their fiscal year begins. So get your head into that mindset of when people want to spend money. The branding and marketing plan is another piece of this. What does your brand look like? I know you guys have worked with Kathy before. What is your brand? And it's okay to go back and take a look at some of these things, especially developing your marketing plan for the next year. Where are you going to spend your dollars? How do you want to reach out and get to people? Let them know that you're here, that you have services to provide. Another bone, another piece is the company philosophies, the policies and procedures. Have you ever sat down and thought about the principles that you want to operate by? Have you ever sat down and looked at really the policies, especially if you're running, let's say you're running a class? Are you going to offer refunds if people can't make it and they've already paid you? Are you going to reschedule things? How do you want to conduct it yourself? I mean, all of these little pieces and things to think through. Unfortunately, some of us develop our policies and procedures when we've run into a mistake, and that's probably the best way of learning the lesson when something's popped up and it hasn't worked right, is to take from it, what kind of policy, what kind of procedure do I want to create so I don't get into that again. The structure here that I'm talking about is what kind of a tax structure? Are you going to be a sole proprietor? Are you going to be a partnership? Are you going to be an LLC? Are you an LLC as basically a sole proprietor? And partnership, are you an LLC more as a corporation? Are you going to be a sub S corp? Do you want to be a C corp? All of these things are legal and tax structures for running your business, and every one of them has a consequence and a value to it also. So those are things to look at. The financial structures are something else. How do you build your wealth through your company? And developing a financial plan for your year is one piece of it. What personnel do you need? And are they going to be working in your company, or are they going to be something that you want to outsource? What kind of resources do you have? The sales follow-up, customer retention is another piece. And then the actual operations, which is that technician level, the actual thing that you do. And what is it? And how do you know that you're providing great quality for people? What are the structures that you're putting in place to know that you're doing a great job? Let's go to the next one. So this is my brief disclosure from my last class, Shattering the Structure. While we're talking about the structures that we're building, the point I want to get across as an entrepreneur is that we build these boxes, we build these structures, and too many entrepreneurs get stuck in them. They trade in their vision into these boxes, and the boxes hold them from having future vision. So there is no rule out there that says you can't change it once you make it. There's nobody that's going to hold you accountable to that. And so many businesses don't grow because they get so stuck on the way they've been doing things that they aren't going to be open to looking at some other ways of doing it. So that was a little piece from my other presentation. I may have a couple more slides on that. This is Napoleon Hill. Do you guys know who Napoleon Hill is? The book Think and Grow Rich. He was probably one of the first people to really come forward and say, and this was after he interviewed all these incredible owners of businesses, CEOs of businesses like Henry Ford and Morgan, JP Morgan. A lot of these people, he went out for a couple of years and interviewed them about the secrets of growing your business, and every one of them came back. And he said, in order for you to grow rich, you have to change your thoughts. So his book is called Think and Grow Rich. And he says, first comes thought, then the organization of that thought into ideas and plans. Then the transformation of those plans into reality. But in the beginning, as you will observe, it's always in your imagination. So as an entrepreneur, you have to live in the imaginal. You have to stay there and always look for the next possibility. Look for the next download you're going to get. I swear that's how Steve Jobs grew his business, was with downloads. A big fan of meditation. And you always wonder, where do these guys get this from? It's those incredibly divinely inspired bits of information that they took action on. And that's the piece, it's the take action. So this is my last little piece about the brief disclosure. Just a reminder, you have to think outside the box. So while you're building boxes, you're thinking outside the boxes. You create the structures, but never get trapped in them. Never lose the creativity. Know that that is who you are. You're that divine spark bringing in the creation that you're supposed to bring in. So don't limit yourself by what you create. Let's try again. One more. Oh, there's Michael again. So Michael says, organize around business functions, not people. Build systems within each business function. Let the systems run the business and the people run the systems. People come and go, but systems remain constant. So you do need to build, as you build, especially if you get to a place where you want to bring on assistants, other teachers, other people to be with you, you need to create a replicatable structure and a way of communicating it to people so that they can follow in your path. And that's the reason why we create some of these structures, is so we can pass on our ideas or our products to other people and do them in a very consistent manner. I don't know, Kathy, do you have anything you want to say about this part?
I just think that it's hard for us to do that, but it's essential. And again, this is my second business that I've owned like this. I'm in my 19th year. My first business, I had it for 16 years. And without systems, you can't perform and give customer satisfaction. You really can't. So, yeah.
And the marketing piece that you guys went through with Kathy creates an amazing structure for your brand, for the marketing concepts that you want to bring forward, for a plan to launch them to people, to get your wording consistent, your little 30-second elevator speech to let people know what you do.
Well, they also got, both of them, I think, got product. They got how to create a product line too.
Yeah.
So even though they may have varied the name of it, but the idea was an online, offline business, so they could have passive income. So that's a model.
Model and a strategy.
Yeah.
And it's one of those pieces of the marketing bone that you need in your business. So let's scoot to the next slide. So this is a slide I put in a lot of my business presentations because I want people to think about their business kind of like the person that they are. So as a person, there's kind of 4 areas of who you are. You've got your physical body. You've got your emotions, the feelings that you're picking up on all the time. You've got the thinking processes, and you've also got that spiritual side of yourself, the passion, the intuition, the guidance, God, whatever you rely on there. But you've got those 4 pieces. Business is a lot the same way. In business, the physical piece of it are the operations, the assets that you hold, like the money, any of the computers or any of the production equipment you might have, whatever you need to run your operations, anything that's really tangible, those are the physical pieces of it. Then you've got the emotional side of business, which is really the culture that you create, and it's the way that you communicate, because that's going to run the cultures. And it's interesting because you may be thinking that you're developing a certain culture in a business or something, but if you've got people working for you, they add their own mix in, and they can actually create a culture that you're not even part of sometimes. It's very interesting, but the culture in a business and the way that you communicate is incredibly important. And the way that you're going to address things, especially if there's an issue that comes up, because you can impact the whole business by the way that you handle a situation, whether it's inside people or outside people. So you really have to think about the way that you want to address things and the way you want people to feel around you. This is the part about relationship, and everything's built on relationship. So how are we relating to each other? And are we doing it in a win-win where we really all feel good? Or are there some sticky points in there that you need to address? And one of the things that Grandmother Parisha taught me was called confront. But confront was not like this. Confront is coming front. It's putting it on the table and having a discussion around it, dealing with it. Instead of hiding it and whispering behind or whatever, it's bringing it, putting it on the table and having a constructive conversation about it so that you diffuse it. So that's a piece under the business emotion piece. Under business for mental, that's your planning, your procedures, all of the strategies that you do. Everything that is the thinky part can be part of the creation as well. And then there's also under business that passion, your mission, your dreams, your vision, that spiritual side of your business. And that's what should really be driving everybody, is that amazing vision that you have of what you see happening. So these are really key, and they work in ourselves and they also work in our business. Oh, here's Peter Drucker. Peter was one of the best management trainers, concepts that he had. He was an amazing, amazing gentleman. I think he passed in like 2004, 2005, something like that. A lot of good books that he put out. But he said, because its purpose is to create a customer, the business enterprise has two, and only these two basic functions. So these are two key. It's the marketing and it's the innovation. And they are the two that produce the results. And all the rest of these functions are costs. So we need to pump that energy into the innovation that we have, the creation that we have, what sets us apart, what makes us the innovator, and how do we let everybody know about it? Because that's going to bring the money in, and the other functions, most of them deal with either managing that money that's coming in and or going out, or it's just going to cost, because it's just a cost of doing business. So those are the two that are going to make you the money. Now this is the manifestation wheel. And
I'm excited, you guys. If you haven't seen this, this is really powerful.
So one of the things that I was taught was about the manifestation wheel and pillars. So the manifestation wheel is the creation piece. It's the creation and then allowing it to drop back in to manifest. And the way that we work, I wish I'd had it up on a screen and I could be like pointing to it. You start with the end result, which is at the very bottom, which is the what. So it's what are you going to create? And remember, this is about energy. So first we're going to go around the wheel clockwise, which is all in the thought process. It's all in the creation process. It's the way we think when we're coming up with our what. It's like we start dreaming and all these ideas start coming in and we're jotting down our notes and stuff. This gives us a format to lay all these ideas in. Then we come back around counterclockwise, and those we start looking at, do I have all the pieces I need? How am I going to manifest each one of these? Now, the one piece I didn't put in here, which is really an interesting piece, it's called, we just call it a neuron. So you've probably seen a picture of a neuron where it's got the little central piece and then it's got all the little things that stick out. Well, when you start creating this, you can get your idea and then all these little thoughts can be the little ideas coming off. It was the one piece I was missing a bit in here, and you'll see why, because we start plotting the tasks and things we need to do. And I was always like, well, how can we measure them if I don't even have them yet? And that's where I ran into problems as I moved to the progress charts. So we've developed our what, then we move to progress charts. So how are we going to manage what we want to achieve? And a lot of them just use a line graph, like down and over. I guess if I did it for you guys. Some people call it the cutting blade, because as you get finished with each of these tasks, you're like cutting them away, you're finishing them. So along the bottom line would be the time period, and along the upper line are the tasks that you want to do. And then as you get them in, you plot them, and the idea is you want to see yourself going up. You want to see yourself achieving what you want to achieve over time. However, if for some reason you don't get something done, it gives you an opportunity to look at why you didn't do it. Did something come up? Were you procrastinating? What are the things? So you try and lay it out in the flow of what you want to have it done. But you can have other ways of progress charts, percentages, pie charts, things like that. But how are you going to measure? It's basically, how are you going to measure that you're actually creating the what that you want to create? So the next thing is the story and the vision. So in this, and I'm sure you've all written visions, it needs to be in the present tense and as vivid, and using every single sense that you have in the description of it. So if your what is even something simple like going to the grocery store, your mind automatically goes to, these are the things that I'm going to need to get. And so I'm going to go to the store, and I'll probably go down this aisle first, and I'll grab this, and then I'll go to that aisle, and then I'll do this, and da 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 da. And I've only got this much time to get it done in. And you've already created the vision of what you're doing before you ever get to the grocery store. Same thing with a product that you're doing. You know that you're going to be complete when you've gotten everything that you need. And sometimes we get sidetracked. So that's another reason why this is really a good process to work in, because if you stick to just the things that you want and don't necessarily add in the little things that are just catching your attention that aren't that important, you'll stay on task. The next piece is the directives. So what are the things that need to get done? And these are kind of the big things. It's, well, I need to, let's say you're doing a book, I'll need to be able to write my draft. I'll need to come up with a title. I'll need to do the graphics for it. I'll need to get the testimonials, whatever it is that you want to add in there. And those are things that can be plotted on the chart, as well as the tasks. The tasks are breaking it down a little bit more, because it's really taking a look at all the little things that need to be done to complete that bigger piece. So you know that maybe one of the things you want to do, let's say you're cleaning out your house. Well, it may be, I have to clean this bedroom, I need to clean the garage, I need to do this. Well, in each one of the rooms, it might be, I've got to go through the drawers, I need to go through the closet, and you've got a whole bunch of other little tasks that go there. And remember, this is organizing what's flowing through your head, because get the picture of what happens when you say, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden your mind takes off and starts thinking of all the things that you need to do to complete it. So this is allowing you to kind of drop it in, and it's all in this creation phase. It's all in this thinking process, and you just want to get it on paper. The next one is the strategies. And the strategies are, well, what happens if and this is really big in business. What happens if my plan doesn't quite work right? What am I going to do? Do I have a plan B? Do I have some other ideas about how I want to make this happen? And so that's when you start thinking about the different ways you're going to address it. Some of mine, I do a wheel every day just for my daily stuff that I do. And my strategies are a lot just the same. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to focus. I'm going to connect into the divine. I'm going to approach it in love, and I'm going to do it in service. Those are my strategies. And anytime I start getting really frustrated on something that I'm working on, then it's like I stop, I take a breath, I refocus, I realize I'm doing this in service, and it takes me right back into being focused on what I'm working with. So those are some strategies. It's like, how do you deal with stress? What would be some of your strategies? The draft part on the top is almost like a blueprint. So imagine that you're building a house and you want this room and that room, and you've got all these different pieces and you're putting everything together. Well, your blueprint is going to have that all laid out. So your draft might be really, and you can actually jump into this where you envision the whole thing, the whole process that you're running through. Drop into the etheric with it and what's going on there. Can you see all the pictures? What does it look like? Can you taste it? Am I missing anything? And basically, is everything reflected, or did you miss some pieces? Did you leave something out? The next piece on the wheel are the procedures, policies and procedures that you'll want to use. So if you're creating a class, you might be saying, okay, so a policy that I have is that you need to attend all 6 sessions. Or if you miss 2 sessions, you're out. Or, whatever you want to add in that would benefit. It might be policies that you set for respect for the people who attend, getting to know each other, how they're going to communicate, how they're going to talk. Kathy's got a point.
You might have a prerequisite, like you can't take this other class until you've taken the beginner class. You can't take intermediate. You can't jump in, something like that too.
And this piece really reflects what your values are and what your ethics are. And if you have guiding principles that you want to live through, this might be the guiding principles. We wrote them for our cleaning business, that we treat everyone with respect. That we came up with a list and we worked with our people with that. So the next piece of the wheel is it's the intent. It's like, what am I doing, or what am I doing this for? What am I intending to have happen? What's the impact it's going to make with people? The next piece of the wheel is the insights. So it's like, oh, maybe this is too complicated. Oh, maybe I left this thing out. Oh, maybe I'm feeling a little stressed about this. And a lot of times the insights that you get will help you with the strategies that you need to use. Then finally, then comes the systems, like what systems. So if you were given an online class, you would be talking about your computer. You'd be talking about the programs that you wanted to use. You'd be talking about the platform that you were going to use. You're going to talk about maybe what your, is it a webinar? Is it a podcast? Is it all those different things. So what kind of systems? Do you need a banking system? If you're talking generally about your business, you need a banking system. You need a plan. You need schedules. You need the resources. So it's all those pieces that drop in. And then finally, the last piece, the objectives. It's kind of like, what am I doing this for? I want to do it. How do I want to impact people? I mean, it's a little different than the intent, and sometimes it's exactly the same as the intent. And then once you go around the wheel and you've kind of listed all these things down, you go back the other way and start implementing. So you've got your objectives. You already know what you're trying to achieve. You've got a list of the systems. Make sure they're all there. What kind of strategies do you want to use with your insights? And one of your insights, hopefully, is that you're really excited about it, that you're noticing what's going on in your body and things. What you're intending to happen, the procedures, you go back around the other way and move all the way through. So it's almost like you can see it all happening. And this way around the wheel is the way of manifesting it, because that's when you start dropping into doing the tasks What pieces are you completing? Can I cut them away? Can I measure them? Am I getting my result? Yes, Kathy.
Well, I want to let everyone see that this is copyrighted by Grandmother Parisha from 1967. And
Yeah.
even though our energies have all changed, this process is still amazing. If you do this, you'll feel almost like something lands on the way this way, the clockwise way. And then when you fill it out, this is almost like you put the skeleton in, and then this is when you put the rest of the body in it. And it's a real living thing by the end of this. It's quite remarkable.
And when I do, a lot of times I'll draw it the one way, I'll draw an arrow the one way and draw the arrow the other way. And I just feel like it anchors it in. But I'm just going over this really quickly. I actually did a whole class on it.
Yeah, it was cool.
But I wanted to give you kind of a background, because when you think about computing, there's zeros and there's ones. And everything is built in the computer world, in this AI world, of zeros and ones, zeros and ones. And this is the 0, and then go to the next page. So these are the pillars. These are the ones. So the pillars are a little bit more like the structures that maybe common business people have seen. And really what you're thinking about is, who am I putting in each of these places, and what exactly do each of these things cover? So you have a management pillar, you have a finance pillar, you have a staffing, manufacturing or production, sales and marketing, new business, and then quality control. And underneath each of these, and we're going to talk a little bit about them all. Under management, you've got the owners, you've got that mission and vision, the systems that you want to use, the policies, and is this a viable venture? How will I know this is viable? What kind of research have I done with my market to say that this is going to work? The next, the finance pillar, it's the money in, the money out, and it's also the reserves, because you want to put some money away. The whole idea with this is to build some wealth and also to put some money in reserves so that you can invest back in. The staffing pillar deals with the people, the relationships, the hiring, the training, communications, and stats, some of the measurements that we talked about, the progress charts. Manufacturing and production is really offering what it is that you do. So it's the, how do you prepare it? How do you create it? How do you deliver it? Each of those pieces. The next pillar is sales and marketing. And so the difference between those, the sale is getting somebody to buy. The marketing is getting the information out to let everybody know you're here, that it's available. And this pillar mainly deals with like pre-existing customers, people that you consider warm leads, people that you know, connections that you have, things like that. And then new business is, how am I going to get new people? So I used to look at that as advertising, because I really didn't know exactly who I was hitting. The marketing was more directed towards specific clients, or it was much more directed, where the advertising was a little bit out there telling the world that, hey, I'm here, and where can I go to reach more new people? This is all the new people. And then finally, the last one is the quality control. How do you know that things are working well with the resources or the people you have? How do you know your products are great? Do you get testimonials? And there's another one on there that's I'm not seeing, that has to do with rewarding yourself and celebrating, or rewarding the other people and celebrating. Yes, Kathy.
I just wanted to add for the new business, a lot of times in my experience, the new business is possible partnerships is one way to get new business. It could be in there, and also referrals, because a lot of companies that I've worked for, we've actually put a referral program in that actually rewarded people for giving referrals, and it worked great. So that was just one. It's not in here, so I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, and usually if people have a really good experience, they want to tell somebody about it. Sometimes you have to ask them, you know, would you mind telling a couple friends? I'm really trying to build my business.
Well, now, I mean, you've got Yelp and some of these sites that it's almost, you're almost afraid to ask. Because if they had a bad day and you were in their bad day, but if there's a referral program where they bring 3 people in and they get a free session, or they, you know, if you have a class and they bring people in and they get half off, or however you want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different techniques to work to build it. I know for us, partnerships work great. But the avatar, you know, the avatar falls under those categories. You guys know what the avatar is. So, you know, it's like, how I going to reach these particular people that I want to do business with. And I'm going to welcome everybody, but I really want to do business with them. So this is the management pillar. Some of the questions here, some of the things to think about. So you've got the owners of the business. So who are the owners? What's the tax structure? Who actually manages or administrates? Who handles what? And a lot of people jump in and, you know, they're a sole proprietor. That's cool. Or they're a partnership. That's cool. But have you looked into the impacts and the way it's set up, and especially the liabilities of things that you're doing too? And I always say, like with healers and things like that, you may want to have some policies, or you may really definitely want to know the people that you're bringing in and the people that you're working with, because your reputation rides on that as well. There was one point in our company, we had 2 locations, and with our part-time employees, we had about 70 people working for us. And we needed to be sure that they were representing us the way that we wanted them to be represented. So it was important that we could tell them exactly who the owners were, exactly who the management was, exactly what their roles were, who they needed to talk to, and that who handles what is really important. The other piece under this is that mission and vision. And you may have seen business structures where they talk about management, finance, sales, and operations, like 4 pillars. That's a stable. That was the one I grew up with. That's the one that I learned. And then I had to switch into this, and some of the things were separated a little bit more into a little more detail. And again, it's always done energetically. So in this, we also have the mission and vision. So do I really know what I want to achieve? Have I put those numbers down? Can I see it? Can I taste it? Can I smell it? Can I hear what's going on? Do I have a really clear vision of this project? Those pieces fall in there, and that's probably the strongest way. And if you get stuck, there was a great book on the law of attraction by a gentleman by the name of Michael Loche. He's still on the internet. He's great. But one of the things that he teaches is if you aren't really sure what you want, figure out what you don't want, and then move into what you want off of what you don't want. So he'll literally have you write down all the things you don't like, you don't want, you're not happy with, and draw a line down the middle of the paper, and then write on the other side of the paper what you want to see, what you would rather see. And as soon as you get what you'd rather see, then cross it off. Cross off that other one, because you don't want to put any energy into the things you don't like. You just want to use them as a tool to bring into your awareness that I'm not happy with this. I'd rather have this, and put it down on the paper, and then get rid of that other side. And you've got your whole list of the things you'd like to see. So I think that's a great tool. He's got a couple other great tools in his book too. Again, his name was Michael O'Shea, and that one was a really fun one. I love that. Systems. When we talk about systems here, what do I need in my business? So do you have a financial system? Do you have the checks and balances? Do you know how the money's going to come in and how the money's going to go out and how you're going to record it? Do you have a system set up for your marketing? Do you have a system set up for your actual program offering? And when I say that, it's kind of like when we do our big shows, we have checklists of things that need to be done in certain specific times, and who we need to contract with, what services we happen to need, all the dates, when the due dates are on the things like that, and exactly how is this going to be built out? How is that going to be built out? It's all laid out in a system. So we've got our checklists, and we know exactly who's going to do what, and we keep refining it and getting better and better. But if you were teaching a class, a system you could have is your class prep. And it's like, what are the things that I need? If you're going to do your room a certain way, do I have the candles that I want? Do I have the papers and the pencils? Do I have my handouts ready? Do I have my room set up in a certain way? Do I need to bring some pillows or blankets or tissues? Tissues, big time, especially when you're working with. And then each one of those things we would put in a bin, and we would label it and have a list of the things that are on there. So this was all a system that was created. There's also, I know Larry likes to call it his run book or his playbook. And I've seen this done in a lot of things where everything is scheduled on time. So you set up your schedules and they will literally say, we're starting with this music, with this song. We're going to play this because it'll raise the energy. Then I'm going to teach this little piece. It'll be done at this time. We're going to play this song. Or if I have them break into groups, I've got this music I want to do. So, and it's all written down on a schedule. Everything that you want, everything gets listed, everything gets queued up, and then you just play it as you go. So you have everything. So that's creating another system. The policies, again, we talked about policies and procedures, and especially if you're working in a partnership or you're working with a group of people, you want to have your policies because you want everybody relating the same way. And then again, the viability. Is this needed? Is it wanted? Will people pay for it? And what's the market? That's part of that market study and things that you do. Will people pay for this, and what's the market going to bear? Is it something I can put out and really make good? And some things you may just want to do out of the goodness of your heart for a while. Like I started a health and wellness pavilion at our show. It's not really bringing me back any income. So it's a cost out of my pocket. It's a give back. It's something that Larry and I wanted to do. Well, now we're getting feedback from people and they're asking us to offer more things. So now we're looking at something that we might be able to monetize that'll offset some of the costs of having that. So sometimes you have to start. And the one thing I learned in Train the Trainer through some of the T. Harv Eker courses is the way he built his Peak Potentials program was starting for free, getting all the evaluations out of doing some of the free sessions, doing a bunch of those and bringing people in, creating the funnel. I think Kathy's probably talked to you about that. And then starting to charge for classes and building on top of it. So that's a really popular, very popular way of building your business, is creating the funnel and growing it. So let's go to the next one. So this is finance. A lot of it has to do is how are you going to keep your books? And a lot of people fall down on this. When money comes in, if it's cash, they put it in their pocket. I never let people do that, because then when I had to go to the bank to get a loan, or I had to show my financial structures, and people were like, well, where's all your income? And you can't really go, well, I just put it in my pocket. So That's probably one of the biggest problems that an entrepreneur does when they're receiving any kind of cash, is just to pocket it. I record everything. And Larry would testify to that. I would just put my hand out and go, where's the cash? So it makes your bottom line look good if you record all the money. Plus it helps you in your planning for the next year to know how much you brought in and how much you spent. Money out, what systems do you have? Do you have a certain way that you want to pay on things? Do you have a budget? Have you set up a budget that you want to work with? A budget over 12-month period of time, and you weave your marketing budget into that. You weave your operations budget into that, and you work off those budgets. And the one thing we learned years ago was it was so cool when people were knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, I've got this great thing for you," and you could go, "Oh, you know what? It's not in my budget. Why don't you give me the information and I'll think about it for next year?" So it was a really nice, polite way to tell him no, if you have a little interest in it. But you can end up getting pressured to death with little gizmos and little cool things and all the little bling that's out there and the special programs and different things like that. And you could spend a ton of your money if you haven't thought about, do I really need this? And budgeting helps. Then the money for reserves, how much do you want to put in there? What can I use it for? What's the best tax strategies? But really what you want to do is be able to create a viable business. And this particular area is one that, because we're all technicians, so many people are technicians coming into it, they don't pay attention to the finance piece of it. And then they wonder why they can't show a profit. And they're always showing a loss. So as you build, you have to be aware of this. Next one. This is the staffing pillar again. So it's some of the questions. Who do you exactly need? And again, they don't necessarily need to be an employee of yours. They can just be a contracted resource for you. But who are your support team and who do you want to use? What exactly do you want them to do? What are you willing to do? And do you have your training documented and duplicatable? Because if you had somebody that was going to help, do you have everything down that you want them to share? And a lot of times when you start documenting these things, they create your books. It's kind of amazing. The communication piece is something to think about. And it can even go to, do I want a desk phone? Do I want a service answering my phones for me? Do I want it all on my cell phone? Do I want to personally answer everything? How do you want to communicate? Are you going to do emails? Are you going to do Facebook? Are you going to do Twitter? Are you going to do Instagram? Are you going to do a regular program? Go ahead, Kathy.
Well, I have a question about this because of if you hire someone to help you do any VA type of work or administrative work, how do you deal with them being on the phone? Either texting, I mean, it's your hours, it may not be their break time, and they're not on the phone doing your business, they're doing their business. How do you suggest, because that's staffing / policies, but I know in your business, what do you do?
You know, the best thing is that the confronting piece of it. If you're okay and lax, if the people are doing the work that they need to get done in the amount of time that they need to get it done, and it doesn't really bother you so much, I mean, it's all up to you and how you feel about it. If you're paying an outside person or a temp person that's coming in and they're doing it, you may want to say, you know, I noticed you've been on your phone a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not paying for you to be on your phone a lot. So when you're here, do my business and then go do your personal calls. And if we set up
the other thing is in the old days, you had a server and everybody was using the server. And now it seems like you're passing files back and forth rather than using a server. And that's another communication thing where you have to say, I need this in 24 hours, or I need this in 48 hours. And that, I think things have changed a lot with the way we use the internet. And
Yeah.
even if you upload to Dropbox, I mean, I can upload to Dropbox. It's easier for me to put something on a zip drive or a little thumb drive and walk it over to the other office than it is to go to Dropbox and wait for it to render there. And then they pull it back down. So yeah, there's all sorts of things like that for communication.
And that just starts with communication.
Yep.
You know, and it's like an example with that just happened with us is we had a salesperson in Las Vegas that handled our account for a lot of like 5 years, and then they let her go. It was kind of stupid because she was making too much money. She was the largest salesperson, highest volume in like the Western United States or something crazy, and they brought in this younger guy. Well, instead of communicating with Larry and saying, finding out how Larry does business, because usually you want to work the way your client works.
Right.
Instead of finding out how he liked to do it. And Larry's pretty specific. He communicates really well. And he told the guy right up front, I don't do business through text. I don't do business through the emails and stuff. I like to have phone calls. I'll look at drafts of things and stuff through that, but I don't work with texts. I want to talk to the people.
Right.
And then I'll review it, you know, a contract or whatever. This guy would only text him. He wouldn't call him. He wouldn't return his calls. He was quit communicating. And then the last day of our bid, putting the bid out to find a new hotel because they hadn't responded, his manager came and said, you know, you didn't get anything from us? And Larry's like, no. And he said, well, why not? He goes, because the guy wouldn't respond to me. He'd only text me once in a while, and I don't do business that way. And so they asked him to extend the deadline. He said, well, no, you've got 2 hours. Either get one in or I'm just going somewhere else.
And they got one in, right?
No.
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
But
oh my God.
You need to be clear in the way you want to do business. And if your client has issues with doing it that way, then there's something to talk about. There's a way that, you know, but it was even like with Kellen. Kellen is a coach that Kathy and I both used. He basically said, here's how we communicate. We have this group. This is when you guys show up. This is what your expectations are. You know, what I expect from you guys. And here's how we run the meetings every week. And he was very clear in his communication in the way he handled things.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get really clear. And the thing is that people don't realize is when you waver from some of these things that you set a precedence. So if you're working and you have a certain expectation for people joining your classes or doing whatever, and somebody says, oh, I don't think I can do that. You know, could you make an exception for me? Well, just keep in mind when you make an exception for one, it opens the door for exceptions for everyone. And you can create chaos in your life with all the exceptions that you make. So think through things and communicate the way it's going to work for you. And if there's other issues, then communicate and see how you find a win-win. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. It's not a fit. It may just not be a fit. The stats are the other thing here, and do you have a way to measure? Like, do you have your goals set over time? The things that you want to achieve that you can check off. Check-off lists are fabulous. And one tool we learned years ago from a consultant we hired was to write all the things we wanted to accomplish on a pad every day and like just go down. As soon as you take them out of your head, you're not thinking about them anymore. So get them down on paper and then just start marking them off. And you feel like you've completed at the end of the day, and you've actually completed way more. The other thing that I do is I don't watch my clock. hate watching the clock. It takes too much time. So I set an alarm, and then I don't have to worry about it. And then I just work because I can totally focus on what I'm doing. And then the alarm will go off and I can decide whether I want to reset my alarm and keep going or if I need to get up and go do something else. But getting that away from watching the clock, which is what I keep doing today, it's like that really helps with the focus piece too. And that helps me do all the little checks on my list for the day. So let's move to the next one, that production and manufacturing. So in this one, you're really looking at the research and development piece. And a lot of these have time structures to them too. If you're wanting to start something new, schedule it into your schedule. How much time do you need for research and development of it? How much time do you need to actually put it together? And then how much time do you need to deliver it? Or how are you going to deliver it? How are you going to get it into people's hands? And there's a lot of different methods nowadays, especially since you guys have products, you've got classes, you know, things that you want to teach. How do you approach them? What are the ways that you want to do it? Because if you're going to try and do it in a way that's not comfortable for you, it's not going to work. And if you have, let's say you do have a book or a t-shirt, or you have some product that you want to launch, is a print on demand the easiest way of doing it? Or is it where they'll literally take the order, print it, and ship it to the people, and you can do one-time orders? Or do you have to do it where you've got some, like with the books, where you're using them as mainly like business cards and advertising and stuff, and you want to hand out your books to people, and you use the books as a tool? Then, you know, how are you going to get that into people's hands? And maybe it's a fair, or maybe it's doing a promotional thing, or maybe it's really scouting out and finding a way to get on people's programs. A lot of different ideas, but this all has to do with that operations piece. The creation, the development, and getting it into people's hands, the delivery. The next piece is the sales and marketing. So with this one, you're reaching out. And how are you going to engage them and enroll them? Because the whole deal, we used to have a guy, a friend of ours, best person ever working a trade show booth. He could talk to anybody. And he would go right out in the aisle, and the first thing he talked to us about is, you don't have a table. You don't have chairs. If you have a table, it's got your stuff on it. But you're not sitting behind a table. You put it off to the side. You want it open. You want people to be able to come in and talk to you. You don't have chairs to sit down. And nowadays, Lord, no, you do not hold your cell phone in your hand and read it all day. You put that thing away. But he used to go out, and he would go right out in the aisle and just engage people. And then he'd get them in, and he was the best. He could get them in there. He could show them the products. They're all ready to buy. And then he would say, well, are you sure you want to do this? I thought Larry was going to kill him the first time, because we were just like, he's so good. But then, and then we're like, stop that. You've already got the sale. Just sell it. Just have them sign up, So don't second guess it. If somebody wants it, like, sell it to them. Collect the money, get the commitment. So this is about engaging them, enrolling them, and also, how are you going to stay connected to these people? Are you going to come up with a plan to send out regular emails with information to them? Or messages? And have you gotten permission? Do you have a permission thing that says you're allowed to send updates or more information? Have you had them sign that? Did you put an opt-out on any of your stuff that you're sending out? Can they opt out of it if they don't want to be in it? So these are different ways talking about engaging, but this is a whole other pillar, a whole other structure to weed out and develop and create. Sometimes it's really awesome to do things on sticky notes as you come up with your ideas or how you might want to handle it. And then this is the way I like to do it. I just jot things on sticky notes, and then I come up with titles. I do it on my table, and I'll put them there. And then I start sticking the notes, or you could do it on a wall, or you could do it whatever. But then I start taking my ideas and putting them. And then I can record them. I can take a picture of it or whatever that will keep them there for me. And you can do it that way if you want to. But start creating the way. And if you're going to create a program to stay connected, then stay connected with them. You know, send it out on a regular basis with a little helpful hint or tool. Or I know that Kate does joy. It's like, you know, what's your joy for today? What is it that you want to offer them? I know a lot of people who like those little daily reminders that go out. And, you know, can you set it up on an automatic send where you could actually build it all? And I know Kathy's got a bunch of those that they'll go out and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Next slide. So this is the new business. And how are you going to build your customer base? This is a whole other pillar and strategy to work on, is how do you find your people? How are you going to reach them? What avenues? What's the plan? Each one of these has a plan. It also has a person responsible. And that's what you really need, is putting names to each of these things and saying, okay, so-and-so's in charge, not necessarily of doing all the time, but overseeing and making sure it's done.
I'm afraid my name's on most of it.
Well, that is what happens. And a lot of times when I'll do my daily one, I'll put my name, and then I put creator. I put a C for creator.
Oh, that's great.
And then underneath that,
Or angels.
I put H and R.
Masters.
Yeah, I go H and R under that, which is my helpers and my resources.
Oh, that's perfect.
So I just put them in my pillars because they're the ones now. But if you're doing the concrete things and you're working in a partnership, or you even some of the people, we call it hatted, they've got their hat on for that. Even if you have a contracted person, let's say you've got someone doing your books under the finance pillar, that you might just list the name of the firm or the individual person that you have working there. They don't have to be an employee of yours, but knowing who your resources are in each of these areas is really important. So if you have a company that you're working with for new business, or you've got different kinds of outreach or things, you want to list who your people are so you know who you're working with. And then the last slide's about the quality control. Here is, how do you get feedback? What method do you want to use? Are you getting testimonials? Are you using surveys? Are you asking for feedback? And again, rewarding yourself. And if you're working in a partnership, or you're working with a group of people or whatever, ask them. You know, what did you see that I did really good? And what did you see I need to work on? And be honest. I mean, I love it. Larry's a really good speaker, and I love it when he tells me, you could have done this a little bit differently, or you could have done that a little bit differently, or watch your pacing, or, you know, whatever it is that he can offer me. Add some more voice inflection here, or whatever it is, but ask for the feedback. And if you got some good friends that are in the classes, or you just want to talk to some of your people, then being open and authentic and saying, you know, I'm starting out with this and I'd really like some honest feedback on it. And what did you really enjoy? What would you like to see more of? What didn't resonate with you? It's okay to ask those questions, because you're just developing a better product. And if somebody comes back with something super negative, then hear them out, because they could be your best customer for life when they know they've been heard. it's pretty amazing. So let's go on. So these are just a few other thoughts because we're coming to the ends, and I'll do a Q&A thing too. So again, if it isn't working, change it. Don't ever feel locked in. And this goes clear back to Socrates. It's amazing. This wisdom's been passed around for how many years? The secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old stuff and trying to make it work, but build on the new. So you guys are familiar with energy. If the energy isn't quite working right, find the one that is. And keep trying. I think it took Edison, what, 118 failures before he got the light bulb to work, or something ridiculous like that. Crazy. And again, if you don't like it, change it. And when you do like it, celebrate it. If there's something you really, really, really know went well. And this was from Entrepreneur, from an article from this guest writer on April 21st, 2017. I wish I could say his name. Chidlek Samachun, I don't know. Anyway, I slaughtered it. The 5 essential elements of an efficient business, no matter what your business is. And these are things to keep in mind. You have to master the art of management. You have to manage things. Secondly, you get people by treating people great. So you get your clients, and you get your colleagues, and you get your mentors, and I mean, it's all relationship. Everything is relationship. This is so important because it's a people working with people thing. And when we want to raise consciousness on this planet, we have to start with good conscious relationships. The next thing is track your cash. Again, make sure you're recording it. 4 was process. Do the things in the right way. So create your process and make sure it works. If it doesn't work, you can spin your wheels forever. So create a process that works and then build on it. Build on it and improve it. And then the last thing he recommended was teching up. And for some of us that are older, that weren't working in tech all the time, teching up can be a challenge. But the up-and-comers, the ones who are going to have money, the ones who are going to be making the decisions, who are going to be running the businesses, who are going to be running the governments, are all tech savvy. They've grown up with it. They don't know anything any different. They think we're completely crazy when we want to print something out on paper. So the more tech savvy we become, the more we're going to relate with the new generations that are coming up. And we still have the old ways of doing things for the people who love the paper. And I have to say, I am one of them. So that kind of brings us to the end of the presentation part, and just wondering if anybody has any questions or comments, or would like to see anything further on any of these topics.
So I just have a question about the manifestation wheel. Is that something we can get a little, you can, there's a lot of little details on there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, is that something we can have a
PDF.
PDF or something?
Little screenshot thing.
I have it as long as we're allowed, Trina, because it's grandmother's.
Yeah, we usually do it in classes, but I'd be happy to share more detail with you guys. I can send you a...
Or maybe we should do that class again. It's amazing, you guys. You can feel it build. It's like it lands. That's all I can say. It's so cool.
And these pillars are a part of it, but they're the real structures that you have to put in place to do the things you have to do in the 3D.
Well, we are recording this, so you will have access to the recording where you could probably stop it
Yeah.
Okay.
There you
But,
go.
that's one way. But honestly, if you can take a class with Trina on it, I think you'd really like it. You'd really benefit.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing classes on it actually, because it keeps expanding. It just keeps expanding. But yeah, we'll get a copy for you guys.
Ralph, do you have any questions?
Well, I can find August and September on the Conscious Business Zone. Did October get recorded?
I don't know. No, it did not.
Okay. So there is no other YouTube channel where I can find other The Woman's Way monthly recording.
I don't think so. I can check. Are you saying you went back for the 2 years?
Well, I
Correct.
didn't go back that far. I went to, yeah, maybe I can find even.
Well, yeah, let me know, and then I'll see if you're having trouble finding it.
Okay.
I did make a playlist, so I was hoping that would help.
Okay, I'll check the playlist. Thanks.
Okay, but
Is
I
there-
didn't do October, so.
Okay. Is there any ebook or anything associated with this?
No, but I could do one.
Perfect. Thank you.
I keep telling Kathy's like, you got to get your free giveaway. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, we're working on it.
Yeah, that's one of my, my producing of products like that. Writing was not my forte. I'm going to say that. And it's
I'll
that
help
I'm not
you.
a good writer, but it was definitely something I was blocked with. So
I'll help you. It's easy.
I know.
Da-da.
I'm working on it. For sure. It's just, but everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and to recognize the fact that, okay, I'm not strong in this. I need to go find help. Or
Trina, when I was supposed to write a book, I was like, yeah, right. That's my least favorite thing in the world. And, I laughed when I heard the divine say it in my head. I was like, you're kidding me. Wrong head, I think, somehow. But, I channeled it, which is
pretty cool.
your way. Also, I think that's something you're very connected to, that you can find some joy in. So
I have several titles and I have several outlines. It's just filling in the blanks. So yeah, pretty cool. Do you have any questions about any of these other structures or the things that you need in your business? What you need to kind of fill in and make sure that you're covering all your bases?
Well, one thing I love seeing is that you have spiritual there, and this is exactly what I'm seeing people are missing. What I was missing, even despite all of my spiritual acumen, it was like having that vision that you could see all the way through and be really clear about what you're doing, what you want to bring through. And so this is even a workshop that I'm really now passionate about helping people with, because for me it was a serious pain point. I mean, Kathy will attest that it's like I had this strong feeling of a calling, but I wasn't real clear. And so now that I know, and I've asked Spirit how this all works and plays out and how you can get this done, I'm like, I really want to help people that are sitting there in the water going, struggling, because that's really essential. So it's really great that you have it there as important, and having that drive and passion and so forth, because you have the vision.
And the languaging, with what I'm finding very interesting, because I'll talk about things like this in like regular, more mainstream business situations, where I'm talking about, like I did that Shatter the Structure thing with them, and I brought in the parts about spirituality, about meditation. I brought in a lot of different ideas and concepts, and it's being received. They're hearing enough of it that they're starting to connect and asking a lot more questions and asking for more of it to come forward, where you never wanted to bring in that spirit piece of it. And to recognize the fact that a business, it is a spirit. It is an energy that's being developed with all of its different pieces. That some of them we do need to create that physicality because that's where we exist, and put in the structures that we need and answer the questions for ourselves the way we want it done. And then let spirit drop in things, because we just need to be clear about that. I was having a conversation today with someone who's starting up some webinars and has been doing a couple of free ones, Eileen Konigsberg. And she was struggling a little bit. It's like, well, how many people can I literally have in my class, in my talk, or whatever, to get the point across, to efficiently serve them and have the interaction. And I know some people will say, I only want 12. And other people will say, I want 6. So just even getting clear on things like that, so that you keep getting that, you know, the numbers that you want. And then you can schedule 2 classes when you get 12, if you only want 6. So, but you need to be clear on, you know, the things that, the way you feel you're most effective, and get those down so you don't, you know, one of the things another consultant told us years ago was the binders, using the binders. And now, of course, we've got a lot of this stuff on the computer. But whenever we create something, I print out a hard copy and I stick it in a binder. Because if my computer goes down, if I don't have a good backup, if I don't have, you know, it on a stick or in the cloud or whatever, and who knows, I mean, the cloud could come down one day or whatever, I still have my creation there. And whenever I need to, I could scan it back in and get it back in and digitize it again if I needed to. But I've got my hard copy and I can mock it up and do whatever I want to there. But I can put it in a binder. And the reason he said binders and not file folders is because you can drop a file folder and all your stuff can go everywhere. Where if you drop your binder, it stays together. So that has been a lifesaver for us over the years in organizing the things that we do. The playbooks or run books that we use, the thoughts or programs that we're developing, each one of them gets organized like that. Even to the point of putting in copies of contracts of the people, like if we work with a hotel, the copy of the contract will go into it. The registration goes into it. Everything goes in that we have there, so we can go back and reference. And working with some of these bigger hotels, when we're working with BEOs, all the food orders, stuff like that, we have them all in there to go back and reference, or say Larry's not in the office, I can go reference it, or Jenny can go reference it. So yeah, this is about getting yourself organized and strong, building those bones that are really strong.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
More? Yay.
Yay. With gratitude and appreciation, and I always wrap it up and say, to give gratitude and appreciation instead of just a thank you, because appreciation, like if you think of your money appreciating, when you give appreciation to someone, you're really saying, I hope what you do grows. I hope what you are about grows. So it's like, I give great appreciation for you guys being on here and taking with you something that I've been able to share and use it how you need to use it. Hopefully it's been beneficial for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I always, the screen's over here and the camera's over there. So sorry if we're looking in the wrong.
That's okay. And then that's the contact information that we have here. for the two of us. And so, yeah. So that kind of ends with tonight. Actually, I think it did the hour and a half, but
Yeah.
if you guys need any more, you know, let us know. And of course, this is something you can get really in depth with in each one of those. But at least it gives you an idea and a structure to start following with what you want to create or what you may want to look for. A good accountant is a good person to have too.
Yeah, that's something we're probably going to need to find soon.
Yeah.
Because I have lots of questions accumulating in the background. So.
Well, I had someone ask me, actually it was an accountant that I got, he's like, why didn't you ever become a CPA? Because I would catch errors on things. He's like, you know this. And I said, well, I just didn't want to do other people's taxes, and I didn't want to keep up on the depreciation, the changes in that, the changes in tax code and stuff. I'd rather just pay somebody to do that piece of it for me. And, you know, that was before they had like TurboTax out and stuff like that. And so I do a lot of my own stuff now, but the finance, that side of it for me came easy. Plus, when we started businesses, it was very, very common for the men to be the one out doing the sales and doing the operations, and the women being the one in the office, taking the phone calls, working on the schedule, keeping track of things, doing the bookkeeping, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's changed over time, over 44 years. It's definitely changed. So, yeah.
Well, I need to run. I've got the hungry teen. I can sing around.
I saw Larry was like hanging out with us for a while, so that was cool. But he wouldn't put his picture on. I'm
Yeah.
sure that was him. I don't think it was another Larry.
Yeah, probably your Larry, I would say.
Yeah, well, I do
say.
appreciate you being on, and thank you so much. And we'll find you links to the other ones.
Perfect. Thank you.